Welcome back to Bleav in Softball. I'm your host, Jenna, and here it is. We have officially made it to the 5th season finale of Bleav in Softball. This is the 25th episode of season 5 and our 155th episode overall since starting the show 4.5 years ago. So first, I just have to say thank you for being there with us this season through all the interviews, all the covering our bases, foul tips of the week, and so much more. And however you got here today, whether it was an audio podcast platform like Apple, Spotify, etc., or watching on YouTube, thank you. Subscribe and rate the show wherever you get your pods. You can follow us on Instagram and X/Twitter at Bleav in Softball. That's BLEAV. And there's merch. As always, click the link in our bio on either of those pages or go to shop.bleav.com to purchase 3 shirts available, covering our bases, safer out, and catch you soon. All right, let's go through today's batting order. First, we will cover our bases, going to share some call-outs from the softball world. Then we'll head into today's content, safe or out. It has become tradition to look back at the season and play the greatest hits from one of my favorite segments with our guests, safe or out. As you know, for every guest that comes on the show, I wrap up our conversation with a game called Safe or Out. I bring up different topics. If they like it or they agree with it, they call it safe. If not, they call it out. And we've covered all kinds of things in the past, softball related, life related, it could be anything, but I like to put them in the hot seat a little bit and get their thoughts on all things softball and beyond. So we compiled some of the top safer out conversations with guests from this season, and I just love getting their gut reactions and their hot takes. So once again, we'll wrap up this season the way we wrap up every episode. Then we'll end things with the foul tip of the week, where we share tips to help us get better, our final foul tip of the season. All right, let's go. Covering our bases. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200K. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. BetOnline, the game starts here. And fall continues here. We might be wrapping up our podcast season, but there's really no off season when it comes to softball and women's sports. And it feels like Rip It basically has it all. Footwear like the Ringer Turfs I talk so much about, to apparel, gear like my backpack I'm using almost every day now, and just accessories to go with all of those things. All the stuff we need to play and practice and be at our best. They have gear for other sports too, like volleyball and soccer. You know, it's such a cool time right now as those college seasons are going and young girls are looking up to them. So just what a time to be able to watch and be inspired to play. And also clothes for every athlete too. Training tops, shorts, leggings, sports bras, anything you need, they got it. And the best part though, by far, is their mission: to elevate female athletic performance. They know that women and girls deserve gear specifically tailored to our needs, with quality fit, elite performance, and just unique to us. The best news is Rip It is offering an exclusive 15% discount. Just use the code Jenna15 when you shop at ripit.com. That's JENNA15. Experience the same quality gear that helps so many ladies excel. And this year in softball really did excel. And it's so hard to just boil it down. I'm so glad we have an entire season to talk about it, because so much really happened and just continues to. But if I had to describe 2024 softball in 3 words, I think this is how I would do it. So the first word I think of is triumphant, because the level of competition, the parity, and the talent is higher than it's ever been. Yet then when we actually look at the end results of some of the biggest events in our sport, this theme of dominance kind of emerges. You know, OU, obviously the first ever 4-peat in our college game. And then some of those players move on immediately to win professionally with the OKC Spark. The Texas Smoke, back-to-back and only WPF champions in its 2-season history. The back-to-back defending Olympic champs, Japan, they win the World Cup. Amanda Lorenz, she's the first outfielder to win the AU softball champ season, but she was at the top of the standings for most of it. The North Carolina team doesn't give up a run in the Little League Softball World Series. Like, it just keeps going on. And the results appear on paper like they all just dominated. But we know that the journey for these teams and the athletes was anything but easy. Remember when OU dropped out of the number 1 ranking for weeks? There were still upsets. There were still some firsts, perseverance, mental grind, all of it along the way. All of which made it even more impressive that they prevailed in the end. And it was just incredibly exciting to watch everyone involved. In the midst of all of it, too, softball's growth and community felt like the most triumphant it's ever been. I also think this year was very consequential for softball, for women's sports. We talk about constantly because it's so topical, the transfer portal, NIL, conference realignments across all of collegiate athletics. And the impact of these things went from being something that we knew was coming to now it's actually here. And the conference realignment piece, for example, last year of the most historic Pac-12 conference, the most historic conference in softball, and it's a shift now from Power 5 to Power 4 conferences. This really is the biggest change that we have seen in a national landscape. And then you can't forget, of course, OU and Texas, there last year in the Big 12, they're going to be moving on to the SEC. So it was the culmination of a lot of things there. And then, of course, the transfer portal and NIL, so many things happening here as usual, but Nyjah Kennedy's $1 million deal to transfer from Stanford to Texas Tech. The first $1 million arm since Monica Abbott signed her pro contract, but the first ever at the college level. And all of these things really do affect each other, and we are truly just getting started with this. And then, as usual, it's almost this cyclical thing, right? The circle of life, if you will, within softball. There's ends and there's beginnings. We had pro retirements once again, like Haley McClenny, one of the best to do it, an Olympian, All-American, world champion, all everything. But then we had rookies on the pro level coming straight into their seasons off of college, like Lexi Kilfoyle, Jayla Wright, college seniors and graduates finishing their collegiate careers, like the OU senior class, probably the best class to ever do it. And then, people like Maya Brady, for example. Yet there were freshmen who also came in on the scene and the newbies to shake things up, like the pitchers in the circle at the Women's College World Series, like Tegan Kavan, for example. And not just the players, too. The coaching carousel, retirements from longtime legends like Kelly Ford and Brian Colsey, who we had on the show. But then you look at promotions like Victoria Hayward getting her first head coaching gig, and then young coaches learning the ropes on the staff, too. And we had Amber Pfizer and Sydney McKinney on talking about that part of their career. A lot of these two being Bleavers that we actually got to talk to, so extra interesting to see their insight. But there's also some history in the middle of all of this evolution as well. It was Duke's first ever World Series trip, 50 years of the Little League World Series. This is the most investment we've ever had at a youth level. So this season really was consequential in the grand scheme of things. I also feel like it was galvanizing. I mentioned all the champions in our sport from this year. With the competition being as fierce as it is, it's a little extra motivation for all the competitors who are maybe so close or just aspirational for everyone trying to get closer. But it feels like we all just keep coming together, from broken attendance records to TV viewership and social media engagement. Every year is more, this year included. And if we weren't already, I think changes in the college landscape are even forcing people to come together to figure out how to navigate the future. The push in pro softball, too, has been really heartening. The AUSL is one example, when you have Jessica Mendoza, Kat Osterman, Natasha Watley, Jenny Finch, all on board as advisors as this new format was announced. All Bleavers, by the way, shout out. Plus Kim Ng, like the Avengers are assembling for this effort in pro softball. For all my Marvel fans out there, you know what I'm talking about. The Olympics, too, all eyes are now on LA 2028. Not being in Paris and having a chance now, though, to host in LA, it's reinvigorating for our softball community on a global scale. I think we came together to get there, to get back in the Olympics, and now we'll have to stay together to stay there. And softball was already on a great trajectory of growth. We know that, but so many things are in the works right now that I think add a little bit motivation for us to advocate for our sport. So these are just a few examples, but it goes back to continuing to galvanize and move the needle. The second thing is I'm so proud of the progress that we've made this year. We, you, us at the show. We hit 155 episodes, like I said, in these 5 seasons. It's really hard to believe. The most people tuning into episodes ever, both the audio versions and on YouTube. The most audience engagement we've had on YouTube and social media, just significant growth from year to year. What more can you ask for, right? And we partnered with Rip It Sports too, as you know, this season, which was a fun addition, and different media appearances too, especially in this changing landscape, joining the Big Ten Whip Around, ACC Nation, or the 10-12 podcast that covers the Big 12, among a bunch of Sirius XM appearances and shows as well. It feels good, right? To just be in the mix and to be part of this effort that we have in women's sports. And just on the personal side too, it's a goal for me, as you all know, to grow and support women's sports on a general level. And so reflecting on some of these tangible areas of growth this year on the way to that goal is sometimes nice. You all know my D1 softball role leading the digital efforts this year, from hosting the podcast, the main weekly show with Amanda Lorenz, as well as a lot of live shows for the selection show, the World Series, some collaborations with NCAA softball, all of those things, event coverage from Clearwater to Mary Nutter to the World Series, even voting for the All World Series awards ballot, was a bit of a pinch me moment in some ways in the press box. And then, of course, writing too, covering the postseason, conference tournaments, regionals, supers, and then different features and stories from around the country. And then, of course, just as a member of the staff, national rankings, weekly picks, awards, some of the hardest choices to make, but part of what starts that ever important conversation about our sport. And then on the broadcasting side too, I was so excited to have the most TV games ever on the Pac-12 network in its last year, and to be an on-field analyst, the last Pac-12 softball tournament and the last Pac-12 network broadcast for softball ever was an honor. And doing things like the Summer League, this was new for me, doing the GBCL as part of the American Collegiate League, and then just different events, hosting Stanford softball events, alumni panels, recruiting events, and then even getting to do new sports like women's gymnastics was new this year. I obviously had been doing volleyball, soccer, field hockey, but to add another one to the mix was really exciting. And the most exciting thing being the deeper relationships and more relationships, including with you all. Third thing is also what's happening before 2025 softball begins. I can't believe we're already talking about this, but plenty going on as usual. For college recruiting, September 1st opened the communication for coaches to contact players. Signing day for national letters of intent coming up. Everyone has their own journey and their own timeline. I just always want to reiterate this. Comparison is the thief of joy. There's a reason they say that. So focus on what's best for you, to my young players, not necessarily others. But this is something that is happening right now in our world. Fall ball too, coaches are welcoming athletes on campus for the school year. If they haven't already, for semester schools, the quarter system schools are doing so now as well. Coaches also have the NFCA conventions going on this fall, and I might actually attend my first one this year, so I'll keep you posted there. And then on the international scale, like I mentioned, planning for the LA 2028 Olympics. That'll be in OKC. And let's not forget as well, on the pro scene, the Japan Pro League. They're finishing playing this fall, and you can actually keep up with some Bleavers. One example I'll give you, this is an insane year for her. Erica Piancastelli. She played the first half of the Japan League season this spring. Then she went to play for Italy in the World Cup this summer. Then Athletes Unlimited Championship season. Then she won the European Championships, by the way, with Italy. And now she is going to play the rest of the Japan League season. Pretty crazy what our pro players do these days, but more pro softball for you if you're interested. And it might be the show's off season, but again, not softballs, So thank you in advance for continuing to support our game like you've supported us all season long. And to bring it home, what else could we talk about other than women's sports? We talked to Jamie Loprice last week about women's sports in general and how we can learn from and collaborate with other sports and industries to help make us all better. And I can't help but think about all that's going on across the board this year. I think on a global scale, encapsulated really well at the Olympics. Paris 2024 was the first Olympics in history to have an equal number of male and female athletes. For context, the first Olympic Games in modern history that were in Athens in 1896 had 0 women. So just let that sink in. Now it was even 50-50 this time around. USA, the country who tied for the most golds, 2/3 of those golds were won by women. So if USA women were their own country, they'd be number 3 in the world in terms of gold medal count. Incredible. Simone Biles, Katie Ledecky, just a couple of names that we consider to be GOATs, not just among women though, but among athletes in general. You'll hear their male counterparts, like Michael Phelps, for example, talking about their greatness. And then there's even impact outside of competition. Athletes like rugby's Ilona Maher, who's been an outspoken proponent of body positivity, appeared in Sports Illustrated swimsuit, and she's going to be on Dancing with the Stars this fall. That extra crossover impact is incredible. And then a record 1,983 women were set to compete at the Paralympics this year in Paris. How does it not fire you up with all of these things? And then college as well. I can't help but think of my broadcast coming up and how it kind of covers a lot of the women's scene, especially this fall. So lots of women's volleyball coming up. And I see a lot of parallels with softball conceptually with volleyball. That might be why I love it so much. There's growth and popularity at the college level, and it's really just absolutely taking off the way softball is. But there's certain things too, like a batting average and a hitting percentage, or these great defensive plays, and then the liberos with some great digs or some great blocks. There's just so many things to love in the action-packed sport that is women's volleyball. So my immediate schedule, if you do want to tune in October, the 4th, the 6th, the 12th, the 25th, all stand for women's volleyball, all to be on ACC Network Extra. You can find it on ESPN Plus. Log in with your cable information once you find it. And then I'm likely also going to do more women's soccer as well as men's soccer too. Can't forget them. Both in the top 3 right now for Stanford, by the way, in the country. Pretty incredible. And also more field hockey this fall. And I'm lucky enough that I've been able to do postseason for soccer the past couple of years. The road to the College Cup has been so fun to witness and be a small part of as well. So we'll see if that continues. And then hopefully more women's gymnastics again after the new year. I dipped my toe in the gym internet this year, and I just love that there's so much passion there. And then also maybe even some women's basketball in the winter and the spring, kind of crossover season, seeing the impact with college women's basketball to the WNBA also with the Caitlin Clarks, the Angel Reeses. They're chasing a national championship. Then they're going on to record-breaking seasons on multiple levels in their rookie years in the WNBA. And this is the most people have ever talked about professional women's basketball. There were a lot of people before them that paved the path to get here, but it's just going to keep going. It's very exciting. And I just love learning about other sports as well. It's the sports themselves, but also the culture and the communities that come with them. Because there are some universal things in women's sports. There's also some unique aspects for each community. That's where the awesome stories come in. Also doesn't hurt that these Stanford programs that I'm getting to start in these sports with, the ones I cover are literally some of the best in the country. So that certainly helps. But overall, if you were to ask me if women's sports are safe or out, it is the easiest safe ever. And like I said, the safe or out segment at the end of every interview is one of my favorite parts of the show. So let's revisit some of the best ones from this season. Kate Drohan, Northwestern head coach and wins leader, 6-time Big Ten Coach of the Year, former president of the NFCA and Providence alum. It's called Safe or Out. You're basically the umpire. I'll bring up a topic, and if you like it or agree with it, you call it safe. If you don't, then you call it out.
Okay.
Fun. First one is, we touched on this a little earlier, so I'm very curious to your answer. Twins wearing matching outfits. Safe or out?
Safe under the age of 10.
Okay, I like that.
Or unless you're coaching together.
Yeah. Well, that's my question too, is because you're coaching together and you said it with ESPN, like they were like, can you please differentiate a little bit? There are uniforms. You're on a team. Does that translate to the coaching staff? It's like, do you love matching? Do you hate it from your experience growing up? I feel like it could go in different directions.
Same outfit, different colors is always fun. That was always a twist. But I'll share with you one quick funny story. So Carol and I, we lived in the city separately, and we would drive into work separately. So it's about a 25-minute drive from the city up to Evanston. And on game day, we happened to stop at the same Starbucks at the same time, but we could not drive together. We knew that was a boundary we could not, that was too much time.
Yeah.
And so we stopped at the Starbucks. We walk in, we're in the same purple pants, and the barista's just like, hey, nice outfit. And we're like, such dorky twins right now, completely out of context.
Yeah.
So yeah, same outfit, yes, different colors, great. And then I feel like once you hit 10 years old, you start dressing yourself, then it's time to let it go.
That's very fair. I feel like that's completely fair. Because like I said, it could go either way, right? You could either be like super into the unity thing because you're a twin, or you could be like, I am so over this and I want to be a little bit more individual. It totally depends.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
That's hysterical. Okay, that was the first one. Second one is also touched on this a little bit, but conference realignment, safe or out?
Safe.
And we said it too. It'll be from 14 to 17 women head coaches in the Big Ten next year for softball. So that's awesome.
And I think kind of the sense of that is like, I think there's an old school kind of, your conference is in your region, or there's a lot of tradition attached to it, a lot of comments, so I think there's definitely a loss of that feeling.
Yeah.
But I think college athletics is changing, and hey, let's change with it, and what's the next best decision we can make, and how can we leverage our resources and really, really build our program into a really special place. So
yeah,
safe.
Adjustments, another life lesson from softball.
Yeah.
Okay, last one is bat flips, safe or
out? Safe.
Really? Okay. Tell me more.
Surprising, right?
Yeah.
This has taken me a little bit to get to, right? So at first I was really against it, but it's, as long as it's out, like a bat flip on a deep fly ball, you'll never hear the end of it. You'll be hearing it for years. But I think it's fun. I think that any way we can add interest and joy and celebration to our game, I think it's awesome. And the thing that I always say with our team, it's like, it's about celebrating with our team, not necessarily against the opponent. So as long as that energy is internal, I'm all for it.
Yeah. I was going to say, it doesn't matter how and when that you do that sort of thing too. Because if you're up, 12 to nothing and you hit one and you're bat flipping, like, is that really necessary, right? But if it's a huge moment, then...
Right. And if it's a huge moment, like, we're not bat flipping in the first inning, right? We're not doing that. It's just about kind of, you got to read the room and really understand the moment and continue to be respectful of the game. Mm-hmm. But again, I had a player, Skylar Schellmeyer, who was just graduated. She's actually working at UIC. She's an academic advisor now, so it's really fun to see her stay in college athletics, but real fiery player, right? And she threw her helmet once in a celebration, and I kind of got on her for it. And then by the time she graduated, I was like, I love that, and we included that clip in our senior video. So it's like, just in that 5-year period, I had kind of evolved quite a bit. So I think it's good for the game.
Well, you said the game changes, we change with it, right?
Yeah,
makes sense.
For sure.
Jenny Finch, 2-time Olympic medalist, USA Softball and Arizona Hall of Famer, 3-time All-American, national champion, Chicago Bandits legend, MLB ambassador, and the face of softball. Shorts in the uniform instead of pants, like you guys used to wear with USA. Wearing shorts, safe or out?
Out.
Not a fan? Okay.
Not a fan of shorts, no. But not many people know, so there was like a rule in the Olympics back in the day, and I think it stemmed from like differentiating from the women to the men, baseball and softball. And so we had to wear shorts. And so it like blows my daughter's mind now. Like, how did you play in shorts? And you had to be really good at sliding. You had to, your knee had to take the brunt of it, and we wore knee pads. Like very similar to volleyball. So yeah, their mind is blown by the fact that we wore knee pads and that we were able to pull off shorts. So it does require talent. And now there's so many turf facilities now too. Like, oh my gosh, that will tear you up. And with how hot it is, those turf burns, everything else. Yeah. Oof. Pants all the way.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. Even just from the perspective of tan lines, it was not fun.
Oh no.
having those tan lines.
Yeah, good point. I forgot about that. Oh gosh.
Yeah, not great. It's like, if I'm not going to be tan, I'd rather it be at least even,
Yes,
than the stripes that we used to have.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. And we already touched on this, but just for the record, conference realignment, safer out.
Out.
It's tough.
It is tough. I just think of travel, the main thing. Like, man, traveling was a grind in the Pac-12, and I can't imagine going cross country.
And did you have to do the like split? I remember my freshman year we did where we'd play, let's say like one game at ASU, and then Saturday, Sunday, we'd play 2 games at Arizona. And then we'd split that like later on, we'd kind of do that, but at home. Did you guys have to do that too?
I'm trying to think. Yes. Well, and I think my freshman year, it was a doubleheader at each.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So we played back to back. So 2 games Friday and 2 games Saturday. And then I think it went to the 3 games over the weekend, and it was 1 and 2 or the split.
Because I just think about how rough it was with UCLA and Washington, that they were always paired because there's no Washington State team, no USC team. So doing that trip, like playing UCLA and then flying to Seattle that night and then playing that, and that was tough. Like you're saying, it was already, there were some tough things. They obviously don't do that anymore, thank goodness. But it should be, I'm really, really hoping that there's just a lot of investment in, resources and things to support the athletes throughout it all.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be rough.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, luckily I think for Arizona and Arizona State, not too bad in terms of time zone changes and things. You're just kind of going more east than west now, but yeah. All right. The last one is bat flips. Safer out.
I mean, I love a little excitement, but I would have to say out.
Most pitchers do say out. But you hit 2, right? So that's why I'm like, what's your perspective?
And Coach Kendria, I'm an Arizona alumni text thread that we have. So like, I remember, I don't know what year it was, like my sophomore year or something, coach is like, no more celebrations for the home runs. Like, we're supposed to hit home runs. You're supposed to act like you are a home run hitter. And so literally he banned us even going to home plate. And so it was just like, I did my job. I hit a home run, boom. And I think like, I appreciate that aspect of it where I feel like now it's like everything's for the highlight reel. Everything's for the social media posts where it's like, just act like you're supposed to do it,
Yeah.
So I can appreciate kind of the personalities coming out, but at the same time, I would say I'm probably more old school and maybe I'm showing my age, but
no, most pitchers I've talked to feel that way, even if they hit too. Like Danielle Laurie hit in college too, and she was like, no, like it's been a pretty consistent. If somebody were to bat flip off you, how do you think you would have reacted?
I mean, what do you do? I mean, you just got to take it, I guess. But it's kind of like, get out of here with that.
Yeah.
And next go around, you might get a couple high and tight. But I would work that much harder for you not to be able to do that again. But I feel like a home run is a sting enough, let alone a bat flip being hit off, or having it done off you.
Yeah. If this is obviously very hypothetical, but if you were to hit a home run off yourself, do you think you could hit a home run off yourself, first of all? But if you did, would you be like, maybe I will bat flip?
No, I mean, and I don't know if I would have been able to. I don't know. But if I did, I'm just not a bat flipper. No.
Yeah. Nope. Fair.
I'm here for the high fives. I'm here for the celebration with my teammates, but I'm not trying to. Yeah. And I would be like, like with my old school and me, like I would get in trouble. Like we'd have to run laps the next day or something, like, yeah.
And you're like, no, thanks. Yeah.
I don't think the coaches I had would be for it either. So we'd probably have limitations on it, which I would be okay with.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
I'm trying to implement that in my 11, 12-year-old girls too, which, like Coach Gasso said, you have to adapt to the times. But at the same time, I feel like you could still keep some of the old school within you.
Oh yeah, it's a balance, right? Like anything else. Charlize Palacios, Athletes Unlimited rookie, UCLA All-American, Pac-12 champion, 3-time Women's College World Series participant, and Team USA alum. First one is knee savers for catchers.
Out. I
love your like disgusted look that you had too.
Out. I mean, they probably do help your knees a lot, but just the aesthetic, it needs to be out.
I don't know if I've had a catcher come on here and be like, oh, safe. Yeah, totally. Ever. Now that I think
It's
about
just a
it.
catcher thing. It's just a catcher thing. Like all catchers know. If you know, you know.
Yeah. That's so funny. Okay. I kind of figured. So that was a good first one.
Yeah, that was.
All right. Next one is all the conference realignments. Safe or out?
Can we get the booth, can we call for our challenge? Oh my gosh, that one's hard. I think I'm going to say, that's a bang bang play, but I'm going to say safe because it's cool that everyone's kind of changing it up. These girls are going to be able to visit new places. I think that's what I'm most excited for. These girls are going to be able to go all across the country, and I think it's going to be a good thing for at least our school. We're going to get a lot more coverage, which I think it can't be a bad thing.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. We'll be watching it rather than participating in a lot of it too.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Makes it less complicated for us.
Right.
Cool. Okay. The last one is bat flips. Safe or out?
Ooh. I love watching bat flips. I don't think I could ever do a bat flip. So I'll say safe for watching them. For me to do them, I think out. But watching them is pretty cool. Like baseball and softball, I love a good bat flip. Like that just fires me up. But I don't know if it's just me, but my reaction when I hit the ball is to run. Like I am out of there.
Yeah.
Like I am, as even sometimes my teammates are like, Char, like jog a little. I'm like, I don't know. I think it's my adrenaline. I am hype. Like I am sprinting these bases. I'm trying to beat my teammates out there. But yeah, like I don't think I've ever been able to like really pimp it on a home run. Like maybe one day I'll be able to pimp it, but my initial reaction is like, get going, Char. Come on. Like you gotta get to third base. You gotta get to home plate. Get around there. But I'm gonna say safe.
What if it's the other team? Like if it's you and your pitcher working hard, you get beat on a pitch, someone hits a home run, and then it's out. Okay.
Then it's out.
Just to clarify.
Oh, no, get out of there.
Fair enough. That's fair enough. Brittany McKinney, ACC Network analyst, North Carolina alum, and retired catcher. Catchers getting credit for no-hitters, perfect games, some of those pitching stats that we typically see. Safe or out?
Safe.
Agree.
Absolutely. They do it in MLB. I mean, you look at the record books, you'll have your pitcher throw a no-hitter. It says who's catching them. And not just from a selfish point. Like, I want other catchers to get that recognition. I mean, absolutely, yes, safe. Put them in there. They're half. I wouldn't say they're half of what happens because the pitcher still has to throw the ball, hit their location. But I think catchers have a big part of it. And I feel like most pitchers would want their catcher there. Beside their name.
I feel like, do you think Taryn would agree from the pitching perspective?
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. You're like, I'll convince her anyway. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, I'll make her put the catcher's name first. Like, no, I think I couldn't imagine a pitcher that would be like, no, just me. Well, maybe one or two I could think of, but for the most part,
fair. A minority for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I like that.
All right.
Good.
That was the first one. Second one is a loaded one.
Okay.
The obstruction rule. Safe or out?
I don't think anybody knows if they're safe or out anymore.
Good point.
All right, so you have to have some sort of obstruction rule, and to me, the obstruction rule was created to prevent injury. I think we've lost, so I'm gonna say safe that there needs to be some sort of obstruction rule. I'm gonna say out on how it is written and being implemented
Yeah.
today, because we lost common sense. Like
Yeah.
it just, the common sense of it is just your game Friday. Was it Friday's game? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Get out of here. That was like based on the rule. Like that was perfect. That was
Yeah.
perfect receiving, clear front edge of the plate for the runner. I mean, that was just so mind blowing to me that even they went to review and then changed it. Like I
Yeah.
get it on the field, if they would have saw it and called it and missed it, so you miss calls. Umpires are going to miss calls, but the fact they went to the review and interpreted the rules somehow, that I had no idea where that came from. So safe, yes, there needs to be obstruction rule to prevent injury. Out on the way the rule is lost its common sense today.
I think I'm fully aligned with you there. And yeah,
Cool.
same with that particular example that kind of went viral on Friday. I audibly gasped, Brittany, on air. I don't know if I've ever done that when they overturned it. Because to your point, I
Right.
think that was the part that was crazy. Because trying to make a judgment call full speed, totally. Like anyone can make a mistake. Umpires are human, But to have it right and then overturn it, that's what was like mind blowing.
Yeah. There's another play that I saw this year. It was a rundown between third and home, and the catcher got called for obstruction. And first of all, how can you not obstruct in a rundown based on how it's written, right?
Yeah.
So there's that part, just getting a rundown every time, and then you're going to get obstruction. Secondly, the head coach reached out to one of the umpire coordinators for an explanation, and received the response that the catcher needs to be 7.5 inches inside the foul line.
That's wild.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Because I guess that leading edge is either 7.5 or 8.5 inches right there. So they're like, they need to be 7.5 inches inside the foul line.
I'm just like, okay, so should they pull out their rulers while they're,
Right.
yeah.
Should we draw another line on the field?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just tough.
Wow.
We need to get back common sense.
I think common sense is a good way to kind of summarize it. You're right. Because it's like, what's the intent of the rule, right? And again, anything that takes away from letting people play feels off,
Mm-hmm.
There's just, that could be its own series as well, actually.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the rules committee. Come on, guys. Come on.
I know. It's like we tried adjusting it too and still having problems,
Mm-hmm.
We'll hopefully figure it out one day.
We'll get there.
All right. That was the second one.
Okay.
Third one is conference realignment, which we talked about a little bit, but safer out.
Out. I'm out on it. I mean, I think I've accepted it. I've become excited about it. I'm excited for the ACC. I am devastated that the Pac-12 is no longer. That is devastating to me. I think it's obvious why this is happening with football. But it's the world we live in. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean that it's not going to have some benefits. I think we're going to see some benefits from it. I think it's going to be a growing process for like Stanford and Cal trying to figure out logistically how to make this work for student athletes and the travel. And I think there'll be some growing pains and some tough years, and then hopefully get it figured out where it's like, we know when we need to leave, we know how to schedule to make things work better and things like that. So I have confidence that there's smart enough people in charge, at least in the softball world, that are going to make this the best for the student athlete. The tradition and just seeing all of that go away is tough to swallow. As a change is hard, and especially when you're having to change because of a whole different entity that you're not a part of, which is challenging. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of it, but I'm going to be excited about it, and our sport's going to be just fine. And we'll still play great softball, and there's going to be great competition. And I heard somebody say on a broadcast, I can't remember who it was, that maybe like UCLA, Arizona, and Stanford can have like a like a preseason Pac-12 tournament, because they'll all be in different conferences and have something like that. So I think we'll hopefully see some creativity and still get some of that magic.
Yeah, I hope so. I think you're right. Two things can be true at the same time, right? It can be sad and a little frustrating, but then there can be positives out of it too. I'm glad, for example, that Stanford and Cal are going together because they have that rivalry, and same with like the Arizona schools. And unfortunately, that's not the case with everybody. Like the Oregons, but Oregon and Washington will still have their kind of rivalry going on. USC, UCLA, which USC doesn't matter for us softball players yet, but that's a whole other thing. Yeah. There's lots of layers to it, for sure. I'm putting you through the ringer with this. You only have one more.
I love it.
I just realized these are tough ones, one after the other for you. But the last one is hopefully a fun one. Bat flips. Safe or out?
Genuine bat flips, safe. Like if I can tell that you're just in the heat of the moment and you're just excited, it's a walk off, and it's just natural. It's not a forced kind of animation, or you're down by 3 runs in the 4th inning and then you're flipping the bat. I want something that's just instinctual, natural, big moment. You can't control your excitement. It's for your team. The rehearsed bat flips, I'm out. And I can tell when it's not natural, and I can tell when you're trying to do it, force this to happen. I'm out on those. But if you're in a big moment, you want to show some excitement, you did something big, but within sportsmanship and being respectful, go do it. You earned it. But I don't want to see it in the 2nd inning, and I don't want to see it just like because you practice it in BP.
Yeah, practicing it is a little wild, I think. And you can tell that some people do. Not everything can be Korean baseball, because that was actually really entertaining to see their bat flip. But, like I saw somebody bat flip this past weekend when they were getting run rolled. And they hit I think it was a solo shot. If not, they were still getting run rolled, even if it was like a 2-run or a 3-run. And I was like, okay, I don't know about that.
To me, that's just like selfishness. It's just it's all about me kind of thing. And maybe they're not selfish. Maybe they're the best team player. But
it comes across that way, even if it's not.
Just let it be natural. I wasn't the type of player, I don't think I would ever bat flip. I didn't really celebrate, or I wasn't that kind of emotional kind of player. My dad always was like, act like you expected to do it. Put your head down, run the bases. Act like I expected to do it. I'll hold it all in. But no, I'm excited that players get to show this emotion now. It makes the game makes it fun. I love when pitchers, especially Nyjah Kennedy, when she strikes it, she's got that stomp, and that's not too much. You can tell that's legit, genuine. She's excited, that kind of stuff. I'm all for. It makes the game even more exciting. But the showboating, I'm not a fan of.
Well, when they point to their teammates, you can tell. Like, to your point, Nigel will stomp. She'll point at Allie Kaneshiro, our catcher, right? And you're like, okay, that's, you guys are really in sync. And you can, to your point, kind of tell the difference for sure. Yeah. Would you, if ever there was a scenario where you were hitting off Taryn and you hit a home run, would you bat flip on Taryn?
Yeah. Because if I ever hit a home run off of Taryn, that's something to celebrate. I'm already going to be in trouble for hitting the home run. Might as well put the cherry on top.
Yeah, I love it. You're like, it's not really my style, but yes, definitely against my wife.
That one, for sure. Because that probably will never, ever happen. So I can say it in dreamland or imaginary terms for sure.
Yeah. Well,
it'll be an obnoxious one.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Absolutely. Well, I think that's the perfect note to end on right there.
Those are some good hot topics. I like that. Nice.
Jayla Wright, Texas Smoke pitcher, WPF champion, Duke All-American, and ACC champion and pitcher of the year. So you're the umpire for once. You have the control.
Whoa. This is
I know, pressure. No. Just kidding. So the first one is the World Series being hosted in Oklahoma City every year. Safe or out?
Out. I think we should switch it up.
It's such a hot topic right now, and you
It
just
is.
experienced it, so I had to ask.
I definitely think out. I think, of course, props to OU. They have a crazy fan base, but give us Duke people a chance. Like, let our fans come out there, or give, Texas a shot. Like, give someone else a shot to have their fans fill the stadium. I think that's definitely a hometown game for them. But and no knock to them at all. Like, that's a great thing to have. But give the next little guy a shot.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people agree with you.
Mhm.
It's a hot topic. Okay, that was the first one.
Okay.
Second one is conference realignment. Safe or out?
Safe. I think, like we talked about before, iron sharpens iron. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. Let's bring in the new talent. Let's see what they got.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I like that attitude. It's happening regardless, too, right?
Yeah,
So
you got to go with it or not. So just learn to love it.
yeah, exactly. All right. Okay. Well, you're slaying the first two as expected, Slayla. So
Okay.
the last one is bat flips.
Ooh, okay.
Safe or out?
Okay, this is both, I think, a safe and an out. Like, don't bat flip off me. That's gonna make me mad. But yes, do it on someone else. Throw it as high as you want. So yeah, I think it's a either or, safe and out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, how would you react if somebody did bat flip against you?
Man, if I threw my best pitch and she just happened to square it up, props to you. I tip my cap. But if I gave you a cookie, I would be mad. I would be like, yeah, you're supposed to do that.
Yeah. I think congrats on doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, literally.
Well, luckily you have Samantha Shao on your team in pro, so you don't have to worry about at least her bat flipping on
Yeah, she won't be doing that off me. Maybe she might do it in scrimmage, but hopefully I'm not going to give her a good one to hit off me.
you. That's one of the small goals we'll add to the list.
It is. Hopefully I might strike her out, but we'll see.
Stacey May Johnson, Fresno State head coach, two-time NPF champion and MVP, Team USA and Iowa alum. The term mid-majors, in reference, like compared to the Power Five, safe or out on the term mid-majors?
I mean, out,
Yeah.
clearly.
Yeah.
Do I get to expand?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, it's nonsense. You can't, because of the implication that comes with it. You want to call Fresno a mid-major? Go for it. Go for it. It's not a mid-major experience, though. I can tell you that. So,
Yes.
I mean, call it what you want, but it's nonsense. On the other hand, if we're choosing crappy Power 5 experience over awesome mid-major experience, go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it. You're not our people.
Yeah. Not the goal at the end of it either. It's
Yeah.
a little short-sighted. Yeah. No, I kind of already knew your answer, obviously, but wanted to hear your thoughts behind it too. So makes sense to me.
I was trying to be nice. I don't
Yeah.
know how that came off.
No, I think it came off just fine and very straightforward, which I appreciate. So, so the second one is the conference realignments. Safe or out?
Oh man, I mean, it's happening.
Yeah.
You fight the system. I'm not here to fight the system. I'm here to do my job every single day to the best of my ability. So, I mean, safe.
Yeah.
Safe.
Well,
Align the conferences. I'm gonna grind.
Yeah.
Whatever happens.
Makes sense. I mean, to your point just now, we're talking about the Power 5 mid-major thing. It's like that's mattered the least it's ever mattered, right? So if the conferences are aligned a certain way, it is what it is. Everyone's still got to compete. Yeah.
I'm still gonna play softball.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. Good take. Okay. Last one is bat flips. Safe or out?
Out.
I had a
I'm
feeling.
all for fun. And listen, it's like, I know I'm not everybody and not everybody has to be me. I was raised in a way that I'm extreme. I'm totally extreme on this. Anybody that's watched me coach or play knows I'm pretty stoic. You're not going to get much out of me. Did you see a little flash of emotion for sure? I get fired up out there, but I just was raised in a family where and again, I don't think everybody needs to be wired this way. But I was raised in a family where like, you don't make a show. Like that's sin. You don't make a show. Right. And it's who I am. It's who I am. And I understand other people. And that's great for them. But for me, I mean, a bat flip's a hard out. It's not for me.
But I
It's
think
not going to be for teams.
it's fair to say, though, that that's how you feel. And you're not like, everyone has to be the same way. Like, okay, that's exactly what my question is, right? Like, what's your take on it? How do you feel about it? Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, listen, I mean, I'm me and I'm going to be me.
Yeah.
And I create the identity and the culture for this program. So that's not going to be the identity or culture for this program. We're not going to do that. But if other people, that's fine. That's fine. But for me, that's who I'm going to be. That's who this program's going to be. And that's where we end it.
Yeah. We said it from the beginning. You said it. Stay true to yourself, right?
It's who we are.
Yep. Jennifer Rocha, Oklahoma pitching and associate head coach, 4-peat national champion and coaching staff of the year member, and Sooner alum. So pitchers and catchers calling their own game instead of coaches doing it. Safe or out?
That's a loaded question for me. I'm going to say safe, but there's a lot of work that goes into that. And so they're perfectly capable. Do I have to go? They're perfectly capable. So I'm going to say safe. But next question.
No, I get it. I get where you're going with it. It's like,
yes,
it is definitely possible, but it's not like you have anybody do it and you have to work towards it and build those skills. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of work that goes into it. So, and unfortunately the NCAA only gives the players 20 and they have to do a lot of other things too. So
also true. Fair. Okay. That was the first one. Second one is all the conference realignments. Safe or out?
Oh, nobody is safe there. That's a hard one. I'm kind of out. I'm going to say out right now.
Yeah. I mean, fair to say nobody is safe is actually the most accurate way to describe that. But it's interesting because you'll be back in the SEC. Speaking of being at Florida for a long time, you'll be back there next year. So that, and how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, it's going to be, it'll be a challenge. It's going to be different. Just like it will be for a lot of people next year. I just want our sport to do well. And I think that's really the conversation that we're having more as a coaching staff. And there is really good reason to have concern for our sport with all the conference realignments. And for anybody that coaches in this sport, we should be fighting for more, and for better, and to remain having, opportunities that all of these players have to play our sport at the highest level for them, whatever that might be. I just think it's important that we continue to fight for our sport to be relevant in every sense of the way. And sometimes that means uncomfortable conversations, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. If I'm hearing a lot of things, it's not going to be easy, for some schools who really, not that it should be easy, but it shouldn't be as challenging as it is right now. So it's unfortunate, but just want the best for our sport.
Yeah. And I think, that's, nobody disagrees with that, right? It's the how that we're still figuring out.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, the last one is bat flips. Safe or out?
Oh, I'm going to say safe.
I'm always curious.
And then I'm going to go.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I mean, you're a pitcher, right? So it's hard to, but also like, I know that OU is so known for just expressing the passion, right? Like in the moment. So
yeah. Sometimes it's earned, right? Home runs are earned runs. It's exciting for our sport. The people like it for the most part, and it just creates good conversation. So if they're talking about our sport, then go for it.
Well, what do you think about like pitchers, with a fist pump or like a stomp or, like there's some celebration there too, sometimes for strikeouts and things.
Yeah. I mean, I think We could go in all kinds of directions. Yes, there's a lot of passion, right? You can watch our team and understand, sometimes, and you could watch any team. We just happen to be seen sometimes more than others, and that's okay. Again, it may not always be that way, but there's something to be said about the passion that the players play with across the board. There's been some really, really, phenomenal hitters that are, they could play with anybody and they could challenge anybody and probably win. So I appreciate the skill and the talent. I say yes because I appreciate, it's safe. I appreciate the talent. It kills me as a pitching coach because I don't want my pitchers to be shown up, but it's just sometimes, the odds were not in our favor. So, I think it brings a conversation to the table about our sport at the end of the day. And that I'm all for that.
Makes total sense. Very, very fair. Michelle Smith, ESPN analyst, two-time Olympic gold medalist, Japan League MVP, and keynote speaker. Having the K zone on TV for softball, safe or out?
Ooh, safe. I like it. I mean, it helps hold umpires accountable for their strike zone. It helps give perspective to the fans, as long as it is accurately, put in there, which supposedly it is. So there you go.
Yeah, well, because that's kind of like my follow-up is, we see it with baseball, of course. But it's a different trajectory,
Right.
a different release point and things. So just making sure, to your point, it's like we can't play in the same facilities. Well, it's a different game a little bit.
Right.
So,
And then, if you have a 5'2" slapper and a 6'2" power hitter, like, is it adjusting?
right. Exactly. Okay, that was the first one. Second one is conference realignment.
Oh.
Safe or out?
Out. I don't like it. I don't know. Maybe I'm the typical human that doesn't like change, but I don't know. The Pac-12 going away just doesn't seem right. Teams in California in the Big Ten, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just very bizarre to me. I think even a lot of the change in NIL and paying athletes and all that, it's like hard to wrap my head around that. I thought your payment used to be your education, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I understand. Yeah, it's changed a lot even since I played, and then to think about the history just overall, they're definitely dealing with a lot more and a lot different stuff than we were at the time.
Yeah.
Okay, last one is bat flips. Safe or out?
Oh, safe. You got to play with emotion. Come on. I mean, I was like, I'd strike people out and be like a hair fly and be like, yeah. So, I mean, if pitchers can celebrate, and I love Nyjah Kennedy when she rips her face mask off and stomps down. I'm like, you go, girl, you stomp. And when I see the battery or the pitchers like, that's, to me, that's the same as boop. You hit a dinger, you get to flip your bat. So as long as you're not throwing it at anyone, as long as the bat's not hitting anyone, then I don't have a problem with it. I don't think positive emotion on a celebration, to me, is always a great thing. People love to see that. They love to see that. It's natural, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, and obviously a few years back was a huge topic with Sam Shao and your alma mater as well, especially at the Women's College World Series.
Yeah. Good for her. I mean, she stood out. She wasn't afraid to take that risk, and a lot of, again, be the nail that sticks out. She wasn't all about conformity. Like, let me lay my bat down after I just hit this big home run. No, I get it. I mean, it's emotion, and people want to see emotion. So I love it. As long as, the only thing I will say to that, like the little tangent off this, would be, as long as you're not rubbing it in your opponent's face. And I think when it's genuine and you hit it and then the bat kind of goes, I don't have a problem with it. Now, if you hit it and you walk 5 feet down the baseline and then you flip it, maybe at your opponent's dugout, that might be a little in your face. I don't really, I think that's premeditated. I don't like that. If it's just natural off the cuff, a celebration of a great moment, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. And you're right. Pitchers do celebrate too. I think I saw, I guess I'll call it a ball flip. like making a great catch right back at them and just kind of flipping it, afterwards, flipping it in the air.
There you go.
Everybody
Exactly.
has their thing,
Yeah, well, even the infield, right? When we throw it around the horn, that's kind of a
Yes.
celebration of, all right, we got you out.
I was kind of thinking about that the other day, actually, watching Super Regionals. I was like, is that kind of a flex, like to throw it around like that after, and it kind of is. We're just used to it, but yeah. Paige Halstead, Charlotte catching coach, UCLA alum and national champion, Athletes Unlimited alum, and D1 softball colleague. Have to ask you this.
Okay.
The obstruction rule.
I knew it.
Had to. Safe route.
Safe. Well, gosh. Safe because I guess it just depends on the play. It depends. It depends. Wait, can I change it? Can I go out? Can I say
You can,
out?
yeah.
I'm gonna go out.
Review.
I'm gonna go out because I feel like, again, like it's where the throw takes the catcher, and I think, I don't know, there's just so many different situations. Obviously, I want everybody to be safe. I don't want anybody to get hurt, but I think, sometimes it's such a controversial call sometimes because it's hard to see where the throw takes the catcher, or, it's a hard call. So I'm gonna go out.
Yeah. It's so subjective. I think that's the part that's hard because I don't know if the rule, like safety is great, like you said.
Yeah.
But the enforcement of the rule, it's hard for it to be consistent because it's so subjective in a lot of ways. Yeah. So I would love for you to tell everyone the story that you told me as well, because you have a little something to do with this obstruction rule.
I know, which is so embarrassing. Okay, so the background in the story, I keep saying sophomore or junior year. I forget what year, but I was with UCLA at the World Series. We were playing LSU, and I was catching, and there was a play at the plates, and it was like one of LSU's fastest runners. So I was like, I know this girl's going to go home. I'm going to have to be ready, be prepared. And so there was a base hit to right field. Zoe Shaw was our right fielder at the time. Threw a bullet. It was like the perfect throw to me, and I caught it, but the throw led me into the runner, and so it was such like a controversial call again, and umpires had to meet, and obviously I tagged her out, but everybody's like, oh no, she's safe, it was obstruction. And so there was a whole meeting about it on the field. My coach I would like come to my rescue. She was standing up for me. She's like, no, that's not obstruction. And I was just like on the field, like, what do I do? I can't do anything. We're at the World Series. Like, this is so embarrassing. This is so crazy. And so from that call there, like even after the World Series, I told you, I saw myself on like Instagram and ESPN, and they're like replaying it. I was like, please don't replay it, because it's like, it's in my mind. I lived it. I don't want to live it again. But they're like, is this obstruction? Is it not? And I remember Jessica Mendoza, she was like, no, it's not obstruction. I think she did a good job. And I was like, yes, thank you, Jess. So it was such a crazy call. But from that play, they changed the obstruction rule. So technically, I'm historic.
Yeah,
So.
It's all your fault. No, I'm just kidding.
All my fault.
Just kidding. No, and I'm not surprised, right, with Jess, because she was never afraid to just go straight into a catcher during her day. I feel like there are plenty of photos from like the Olympics of her just going like boom right into it.
That's such a good athlete, though.
Yeah, competitive. It's like a league of their own, right? Yeah. Like, but you're not going to drop it like Dottie did at the end.
Drop it.
Yeah, no, but it's just so interesting, right? Because it's become a big part of the conversation.
Yeah.
But you have to let him play. I feel like that's like you're saying, what are you supposed to do at the World Series? Not catch the ball and make the tag,
Right. Adrenaline's pumping. You don't really know. Sometimes I just black out,
Yeah.
So I was trying to think, was there an obstruction call at the World Series this year? Because for some reason, I thought there was.
I feel like there was the potential. I remember there was some discussion at home plate, and like I think it wasn't called obstruction, but some people were like, oh, that was, and they had to review it, sort of thing. Right. But nothing as like blatant as some of the other things we saw throughout the season.
Okay, yeah, I was trying to remember, but yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it is good. You're right. All right, that was the first one. Obviously, gave you the hardest one first. Maybe, we'll see. The next one is conference realignment. Safer out.
Gosh, why are you giving me the tough ones?
I know. I don't know why I said that was the hardest one because they're all hard, but
Man, conference realignment. I'm gonna go safe. I'm gonna go safe just because I think it's just a new opportunity. I think, it is what it is, and who knows what goes on behind the scenes and why they're doing it. But I think, you can't really change it. So
Yeah.
I think it's just a new opportunity, and I'm kind of excited to see how it's gonna pan out. Obviously there's going to be some struggles for sure, but it's just an adjustment, and I think either way it's hopefully it's going to help our sport. So I'm going to go safe.
yeah. There are like different ways you can take it, right? It's like, are we going to dwell on frustration about it, or are we going to just try to attack this and make it the best we can? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, like there's two perspectives on it. Obviously, I'm sad to see the Pac-12 go,
Right.
But again, like we can't really change it. So
Yeah.
the only thing that we can do is, hopefully just keep going at it day by day and see how it aligns. The only thing is the travel. I
Yeah.
think that's going to be very tough for. Yeah, I think it's one thing that they have to remember is that they are student athletes, so they are in school, and so the travel might be a little bit difficult. And I mean, even when we were in the pack, like that was difficult, and now
Yeah.
they're going to be traveling even further, and um, that's the only thing that I'm a little bit concerned about. But again, like we can't really do anything about it, so it's just an adjustment, and hopefully it works out well. And I guess time will only tell.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you. Just support for the athletes, number one, throughout
yeah,
all that. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. That was the second one. The
Okay.
last one, last one is bat flips.
Oh,
out.
oh man, I'm out. I'm out on those just because I think there's a certain respect for the game. Again, you can go about it two different ways. Adrenaline's pumping,
Mhm.
right? Like that also shows like your energy if you do flip the bat. I love it at that perspective. But I think there is a certain respect. Like you can do a bat flip, but not like outrageously crazy bat flips, like, but to each their own,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think, these are so hard. Why are you giving me the hard ones? Like I can go.
Well, and
both ways.
it's like your opinion though, right? Like just because you're like, I'm out on bat flips,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean you're judging other people if they are safe on it, right? It's just like, this is your style.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I've never bat flipped. Again, I wasn't like a home run hitter at all. So didn't really have the opportunity to do that. But yeah, I just think I respect the game, and not saying that people who bat flip don't respect the game, but I think like my style, I couldn't do it. I don't think, just because, as a catcher, like I have so much respect for pitchers and I know how hard they work. So that's just where I'm coming from. But,
Yeah.
I see it all the time in baseball. I mean, you see it in softball sometimes, and I love the energy. I think it's part of the game too, So to each their own.
Yeah.
I support it.
Yeah. But the catchers being protective of their pitchers totally makes sense. I feel like even times where if a catcher has said, oh yeah, I'm safe on bat flips, I'll be like, what if someone did it to your pitcher? And they're like, oh no.
Nope.
And I'm like, right, makes sense.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Like, could you imagine if someone did that to Rachel at the World Series when you played, right? Like,
See, I don't see. Yeah, if that were to happen, I would definitely be very protective, and maybe throw it back to first base a couple times, or if they were to get on after that, I think, yeah, no, it's protectiveness for sure.
Yeah, very fair. Well, thank you, Paige. I'm glad we could reunite so quickly after the World Series, even if it's virtually instead of in person. But this was really fun. So thanks again for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And those were tough questions. So next time, make them easier.
Yeah. Now maybe you see why Safer Out is one of my favorite things about the show. It's just getting real and getting to know our guests a little bit better. They make us think, they make us laugh, and it's just fun. And yes, I will say it for the record, season 5 of Bleav in Softball is obviously safe. I've been lucky to feel that way every single year, and it's thanks to the community that we've all built together. But maybe a good reminder too, if you want some Safer Out merch, pick up our t-shirt this off season. So with that, let's transition to the foul tip of the week. This week's foul tip is about advocating. Advocating is something that I talk about a lot. I aim to do it in my career for softball, for women and girls. And really a lot of my titles, whether it's broadcaster, podcast host, digital leader, writer, whatever it is, it all goes back to wanting to be an advocate. And something that's struck me while covering women's sports is how a lot of the winners in these sports are also advocates. The champions literally champion their sport. Because to advocate for something means to support or recommend a cause. And to me, it's interesting how to champion something, the definition of that is very similar. We're familiar with the traditional definition of a champion. It's a person who has defeated or surpassed all rivals in a competition, especially in sports, aka win. But another definition that goes along with it is a person who fights or argues for a cause or on behalf of someone else. So in the verb form, it's also about supporting a cause, or in other words, advocating. So I think the lesson here is that a real champion isn't just a winner, they're an advocate. And I also think it's fitting, too, that the word champion comes from the Latin word campus or campio, meaning fighter. Because the reason that we love champions isn't just because they win. Of course, that helps. It's impressive. But it's more than that. We love them because they fight. And their fight actually inspires us to be better. Maybe Kobe's Mamba mentality inspires us to work hard and dedicate ourselves to our goals. Maybe Simone Biles' comeback from her mental health struggles inspires us to be vulnerable and to keep going, maybe even get some help if we need it. They've championed those values as they became champions of sport. And whether we apply it to sport or not, we can apply it to our lives. We can get back up after we're knocked down and we can fight like they do. I think another great example of this kind of advocating is with AUSL too. It's what Athletes Unlimited called the Mount Rushmore of softball, which is very fair to say because you got Mendoza, Watley, Osterman, and Finch all throwing in their support. And it's not just about AU as much as it is advocating for the opportunity to play professional softball and ultimately to grow women's sports. They were champions on the field, but they're champions off of it for that, among the countless other causes that they each support, that they've all talked about on this show. And we also talked to Jamie Lowe-Price last time recently about how do we keep going even when we're tired? And it's not if we're tired, when we get tired, because everybody does. These are the values that these champions fall back on. And it helps me too. So let's all take this idea into the off season, as we reflect on the champions that we crowned this year and look forward to next year's. Let's remember what it really means and what it's all about. And we can advocate for it too. So that's it. Advocate like a champion. That's the foul tip of the week. You've been listening to Bleav in Softball, part of Bleav Network and presented by BetOnline. The show is available anywhere you get your podcasts, wherever you listen, including Bleav.com and YouTube too. Now is a great time to take a second and subscribe or follow the show on your favorite platforms if you haven't yet. And if you liked it, rate the show and write a review too. We love and value your feedback. Catch up on any episodes you might have missed in the meantime too. You follow us on X/Twitter and Instagram at Bleav in Softball. Again, that's BLEAV. You can always reach out to me personally on X/Twitter at Jenna Becerra01 and Instagram at Jenna Becerra as well. To think that we've been on this journey together the last 4.5 years, I'm just so proud to grow and evolve with you as softball does, as the world does, and as we do as people. So thank you for tuning in this entire season and the last 5 seasons. And as always, catch you soon.